Healing, 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 healing. How's everybody doing today? I feel much better today than I did the last little while. I gave myself a little talking to. I said, doesn't matter where I go in the multiverse, this is the way it is, and so let's just get busy. Okay? Move it on. We're going to move on. I wanted to first of all say that this episode is brought to you today by my beautiful and wonderful clients, my 2 clients that donate to me, and all the rest of you, this is not donated to you. If you want this donated, if you want this class offered to you and donated to you, and you want me to show you how to do my hair, then I will. But first of all, there must be a donation. Because I love them. I love my clients. They have been there for me. And they showed me how important I was in the very darkest of times. I remember crying in the parking lot of, where was I? I was in the parking lot of this apartment building that had a fast food store outside of it. And I was sitting there crying, and I had gone for a walk because I hadn't eaten in about 5 or 6 days. And I was okay with it, and I'd gone for longer. I was okay with it, and then I just got to this apartment building, and I saw these people walk in and out with some things, you know, decorating their apartment, and I just like lost it. I just said, you know, I've moved out on my own when I was like 17 because I wanted that independence, and I've always been a hard worker. Had a couple of jobs. I worked at the bank. I had lots of jobs. I always worked as much as I could to get myself the life I wanted, right? I was very studious. I was always going for promotions, very businesslike. And I always moved up the ranks that I wanted to, as hard as it was for a divine feminine. And I remember my first apartment that I had. It was on this busy street downtown, and I had moved in with a coworker that I was working with at the bank at the time. And it was a brand new apartment building. They'd just finished building it. And so I was very lucky. Most of the homes I've been in have been fairly new. And so her and I lived together for a while. That was a very wild time working at the bank. And she was quite a bit older than I was. She was very, very, very established person. And she taught me a lot. She taught me a lot about you know, living on my own and men. It was a great experience living with her. And then I just you know, moved in this adult stage that I've always wanted to, you know, have certain things my way, and I'd be willing to work hard for it and not compromise who I was on any level. So I was very proud of myself for working as hard as I was. So the last couple of years has been super, super hard because it's been kind of the worst part about being homeless, especially when you have groups in 10s and 20s and government and officials and all of these beings that are getting together to make sure that you don't have a life, right from the highest systems. I mean, these people are on the inside, you know, government and banks and family and so-called friends and family that, you know your ins and outs and know how you've shared a personal, intimate life with people, and they take that and they rip it apart and they throw it into bits and pieces. And then you have government giving people your personal medical files and your financial files and what gets you and what doesn't get you. And you have all these people doing tests, and it's horrible. I don't understand how and why people have done what they've done and think that it's okay on any level, and the karma that you're going to receive and should receive. I know there's certain people, I'm going to say to Spirit right now, I'm going to say to Source right now, that there's people that are in spiritual jail that are on hold based on the timelines that are going to come forward. And if they choose to do right and confess and come forward with their information, for me, I don't think spiritual jail is harsh enough. I think these people should be going to physical jail. They should all be assessed mentally. There should be research and studies started right now, immediately, on those that have been in the cults and covens that have had MK Ultra and other military, agendas done on them. Because I'm the victim that all of these people were sex harvesting off of and energy harvest off of, and it excludes the industry. So if my energy and my consciousness is being used, there's a whole lot of people that have been targeting me and have been obsessed with my energy because that's what they've been directed to do. And that has been the agenda. So these minions that are doing magic and black magic and voodoo and chanting, as we said, those that keep doing the intentions, and they keep repeating the patterns that your brain wants to run and the synaptic patterns that your brain is running, it's so harsh and detrimental on so many levels. The multidimensional, the biophysical, the psychosomatic. I mean, there's so much wrong with it. What has been done in these types of experiences with human testing, the human Hunger Games, there needs to be research. There needs to be getting to the very core of who had chosen, who was the director of such things, and the damage is done multidimensionally. Damage is done to the fields, and of course the victim, me, who has, groups and covens and groups, targeting my heart space, targeting my fields on a 24/7 basis. There's no way I should have got up. There's no way I should have survived. The only reason I did survive was because of God and my hard wiring with Source, my higher self wiring with Source. That's just what I teach. So there's no reason why I should have survived what these people have done to me. On a 300, there's 300 people involved in various aspects of government and cults and covens and voodoos. I mean, there's so many people that have passed away because of the backfire of their sacrificing, their weekly sacrificing. We're just finishing a blood moon. So there's lots of every full moon and every new moon. There's, more of these people that come with mysterious deaths and poisonings because their stuff is backfiring. And so they've already been told, and they've been told for 6 years now, stop. You don't have any right to do what you're doing. Everybody around the planet is being aligned to universal laws. So that's military, government, everybody. Your cults and covens, your 3D church and state, whatever it is you think you're running, you must align to 5D now. And the 5D is universal laws. If you're not aligning with 5D, then you're going to go through the karma that will put you in spiritual jail, which means everything gets blocked and locked down until you get to a state where you're choosing, are you going to ascend or not? And that means that you have to do the work. That means you're going to be put through a few dark nights of the soul. You have to face the traumas of why you chose to take somebody out and try to kill them and torment them. Reroute their mail, reroute their important documents, make sure they don't get to court, make sure they don't see any court papers, make sure they don't ever see the money or the mail coming to them, make sure they never get phone calls, reroute their emails. I mean, everything about my life was hacked. I wasn't seeing anything from anybody. And nobody had rights to do anything on my life. Nobody's had signing authority on my life at all, on any level. So when I've been so independent, and I've had all of these careers in government, and I've had these careers in helping people, serving people, and understanding the public trustees, I love that job. Understanding, the various ways that others can thwart people's money when they're vulnerable, and what are the procedures involved, and what goes into a POA and things like that. And I was in the financial side of it, helping clients, and I visited a couple of clients, and we went on client visits to see. We went in the storage visits, to see where people stored their stuff, and it was. What the government did for people. And I was responsible for explaining this and talking to different family members and legal people in the systems. So I'm familiar with all of those things. And I also worked in the mortgage department, and we worked with lawyers going back and forth, and when things went wrong, what happens. I've been involved in a lot of different types of businesses and workings of financial sectors, and the public sector and private sector and sales. And I mean, I've been styling, that beautiful store that I was a stylist, and then the other high-end styling store. I love that job. And so people, I've had all of those things where, I've worked really, really hard. I don't ever not work. I don't ever just sit back at my job and kick back and pretend it's a joke. I've never been that type of person to just let other people do the work. I've always been in there, and I got the job done. And it used to get me so mad, and why I went in high school and in college, university, some of us, those of us that are high functioning, and those of us that are, like type A personalities, they used to call type A personalities before they knew about high functioning. when you have to do group projects in university, and you were always the one that did most of the work. You did 60% while 3 or 4 other people just sat back and waited for you to put it all together, and they just put their name on it. And they talked, you gave them one page to talk on, but it was really your work. And so I hated doing group projects because it was always unfair. You always had to play babysitter, you always had to pick up other people's slack. And I never liked doing group projects because and then I got took a whole bunch of supervising classes and leadership classes to know how to inspire and bring people to the level where they're doing it, and just keep putting responsibility back on people so that they can actually learn their lessons and they can actually grow. Because you doing all the work for others is not going to allow, just as sources reminded me in coaching humanity, it's not going to be okay if I go in and I do all the alchemy and I do all the work. Everybody has to go through the minutia of, where do I begin healing? How do I begin to transform my life from house to body to cell to soul? How do I do this? So that's what I've always done in my jobs. I've always gone in and I said, no, this needs to be changed. No, I can do this better. And then you alchemize it and you make it better. I've always gone in and made things better. So when I was sitting in the parking lot the last couple of years, and why my clients will be always lifted and they will always be sent angels, they will always be protected. I was sitting having this moment thinking, where have my life gone? Like, how it all of a sudden all I did was marry this one person that chose to go into this darker satanic sex cult type of energy. I did everything right. I went to the lawyers. I did everything as above board. I kept talking, and I was being emotionally there, and I was being emotionally, we can talk this out, make sure it's copacetic with the kids, and he would always put on this front that everything is fine, and we'll do the best for the kids. And meanwhile, behind the scenes, the black magic and everything was just getting worse and worse and worse. I wanted to start my business and get on my own, and I was having all these great dreams about me being finally on my own. I felt energetically free. I was building my own life again, but there was just more and more people impaling magic on me, and I just kept getting more and more behind because it was just more and more groups impaling on me. And then surviving being on the floor sick with black magic, voodoo, when we were living in the same house. He lived downstairs and I lived upstairs, and it was just horrible. It was horrible, 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 because they were doing rituals on me right in the same house. But all my energy was going to protecting the kids. All my energy was going to protecting the kids. And then I woke up one day and Spirit said, you need to get out of there or you're going to die. They'll kill you. They don't care. They will kill you. And because they would put things, I would see footprints around the house all the time, and it was never safe. It was just constant stalking and constant, hovering. They're vampires. They're parasitic fucking vampires. They hover over you and suck. They want to know what's going in your email. They want to know what's going in your mail. They check your mailboxes, what's going in your mailbox, who's getting in touch with you. They think they own you, and they want to swarm and take over you. This is the parasitic experience, and these are the ones that are just so obsessed about you. They want everything to do with you. And there's energies of jealousy and envy. There's mental instability. Whether the government had known this about these people, and then they brought in the dark witches and the black witches, but they say that they're religious, and they say that they're the church community people and all this stuff, but they're so mentally imbalanced. And they resort to the dark magic to feed their wounds of jealousy, so that they're forcing people to it's not forcing. If you choose to have sex with these people that do this, you're messing up your life force, and they're doing root work on you. And so you're messing up your whole system, right? This is how that sex magic works. But their focus is on somebody else like me. So they're having sex with 10 or 12 other people in orgies, but they're focusing on my energy. So it's sucking the fucking life out of me, and 10 and 12 at a time. So I have to constantly keep recouping myself energetically. Why I live a hermit life, because everybody's energy is just taking everything off of me, right? Like I'm the biggest battery for North America. So anyways, and going through all of these things that I thought, wow, I've done everything right. I did the highest and the best. I paid attention to what Source was saying. I did what Source told me. I've done what I've done everything. I've followed, I've done everything. Why is my life like this? And I saw this one younger girl, like I was looking back on my life, carrying this lamp and this box of stuff. She just moved into her apartment. And I remember that brand new apartment that I moved into, and I just lost it. I said, I've always done the right thing. I've always followed the right path. I've always healed people. I've always gone to people's houses if they need extra healing. And if my sisters were going through something in college, university, I would send them care packages, and I would, put extra money aside, and I would cover my sister's rent if she needed help. I've always done the right thing. Whenever asked, I was always doing the right thing that I thought at the time. I would always follow that, and I would always have these. If I was off path or whatever, I would always know it, because I would get certain feelings in my body and in my energy field, and I would just know it. And then I would pivot and regroup, and then I would move in a higher way, because I always had that very strong conscience, with animals and insects. And I mean, I was always so careful. And then when this whole thing, when I asked for the divorce, which was happening, the spell work was happening far before that, but it just got worse and worse when my divorce became, because then his unhealed issues became even more magnetized with the black magic and the people that he was with. And I had told him several times through the lawyers and through emails and through other communications that the people he was with were going to send him to jail, and they were all going to go to jail if they kept doing what they were doing, because Source had showed me the things that they were doing. And then that's when I started to talk about it communicatively in the public, because there was more of that. I had no idea. That's the first time I heard about narcissism. I didn't know what narcissism was. I grew up in it in my house, but I never know what it was. I never heard of it. And then I started to hear about systematic abuse. Then the Source had given me the download of elite soul harvesting, and that's when I found out about the industry. That's when the elite soul harvesting is when I found out all of the collective agendas in the collective that people do to people, to siphon and harvest, to take over their energy. But it's gotten a little bit more aggressive, because the more that the government comes out with these, the more that the government comes out with how they run and how they rule the land, if you will, the oligarchic way and the divine, the misogynistic way. It's not divine masculine at all. It's misogynistic, where the top 5% are the world leaders and knowers and beers, and everybody else suffers. With those types of energies, and you can tell, because how one rules a country is the energy that it goes to the rest of the people. And you can feel it. It's this suppression on all levels. And then they have agendas to come in and make sure that their agendas are being run that way. And nobody asks questions, then there's suppression of expression, and all of these things start to go by the wayside. And that's how we heal. We have to express. We have to express who we are, so that we can keep aligning ourselves to higher and higher light. And so when all of these things started to come about, it's like, okay, I understand that my role is a bit bigger now, because now I'm understanding that how I lived such a close life to who I was. It wasn't necessarily to anybody's rules, but I knew that if I treated people well, and I always cared about people, and I always gave more to those. I always stayed extra if people were feeling bad. And part of my learning lesson was not to give so much, and not to be the fixer of everything, and not to do all the work for everybody, because I did have that capacity. High functioning, we have the capacity to do the job 3 or 4 or 5. Then there's those people that take advantage of it, which the government did. The shadow government knew who I was. The shadow government knew my energy systems. They all knew. They were aware, just as they did in the 1950s when they took the Arcturian apart, which was me. That was my other soul fragment. And after healing all of those experiences, there is a lot of knowingness and intention, which needs to be investigated. So this is part of my role now, is to say, as we raise, who are the people that are going to come together and be a part of these higher vibrational systems that are going to say, where and how and why and when do we need to start these groups of investigations? And then we need to start training people so that we have better policing, we have better investigators, we have better people in government, that we know when and how something does go wrong, and it's not being of the highest experience. Because if your consciousness is not there, those energies and those decisions are going to be made, and it's not going to be in any benefit of any person of the collective. And that's why you're in those positions, is for the collective. You have to be initiated. You have to go through all of the tests. You have to be sat down as many times as you have to be sat down, because the ego is not how you're ruling. I don't like to say ruling, but that's the word that they have from the government that is there now. You're having to lead from a position of benevolence, utter benevolence of the Divine Father's plan, because we are a planet that's moving into this galactic energy, and we cannot lead from these old vibrational ways of power, demolition, and the Galactic Federation is not going to do that. No. As the Galactic Federations have said many times, we will come in and we will carry rank whenever and however we can if you don't have the right to destroy such things and operate with such energies or, weaponry. Because we will put rank. Because it is of detriment to the entire rest of the galaxy, and that's where ignorance and that's where the low consciousness needs to be looked at as soon as possible, immediately. But I've been bringing these things up. But it doesn't do a lot of good when you have hundreds of people and Sources. This is why Source's hand is right on it, because they were showing me eating me alive. The government, the systems, YouTube, everybody was just like, it's swarming. There's no way I would have survived. It was just utter fucking swarming. When you see government and military and all these people just like covering me like this, there's no way. There's no fucking way. One starseed, one divine feminine. It needs to be researched. What happened is disgusting. It's disgusting. My mail was rerouted. There's no fucking way I had a chance at anything. So, and after this is before I found out. So when I was in the parking lot having this moment, this was before I found out. Source keeps so much from me because there's just only so much I can take. I mean, nobody could take what I've been through. Nobody. Nobody can take what I've been through. Nobody could have survived what I've been through. Nobody on this planet could have been. And this is why Source is coming through, and Source is playing bowling with everybody. Source is knocking everything down. And everybody's going to be in spiritual jail. Every single one of you in spiritual jail. Every witch, every warlock, every coven, every person that's a 33rd degree, whatever you think you are. You have one intention of sending any type of a spell. You have any intention of walking someone down the wrong hallway when they come in your building because you know who they are, because you know somebody else. No. Right now on the planet, it is a changing of the guard. It's a changing of the guard right now, make no mistake about it. And God's hand is on each and every one of you. All of your positions are in suspension. Everybody in a world position order. If you're in a worldly role of leadership, you are suspended in your job. Everybody is being watched at this point, and every word you say, and if you are not moving towards unity consciousness, if you're not moving towards healing, if you're not moving towards higher consciousness, you're going to be out of your role. You just will. Your individual agendas will not sit. They just won't. Our planet is ascending, and we need leaders that will be unity consciousness, the benevolence of the people, protecting the people and life at all costs. We will not go further down into Epstein agendas, which is what it's been. These human testing, human hunting, human arrogant agendas, that's all it's been, is human arrogance of the richest and of the elite. And no eat, meat. No meat, eat, meat, whatever the thing Gates got going on and buying up most of the world. Then that has to send you a red flag. So anyways, this show is dedicated to the beautiful, my beautiful clients, the clients that have allowed me, through their donations and through their sweetness and through their beautiful, beautiful times when I had that moment and that watching that girl bring in her box of moving in stuff at her new apartment. It just brought me, I don't understand what I've been doing. I've been doing everything right, and I've had nothing but a shitty ass life. I don't understand. I've had to work my ass off for everything. Everything. I work so hard. And I put so much pure love into everybody that's ever known me. And that's that I still tell Source. I said, I haven't made peace with it. I've given so much in this lifetime. And those two people that are my clients, I'm just so grateful for them. And I'm grateful for the little angels that God drops. Like this one friend of mine, he came in and so anyway, I just want to finish that story because it's a good story about one of the clients that donates to me. So anyways, she sent me, I hadn't eaten for 5 days, and I'd had my little outburst in the parking lot, and I was sitting there crying, watching her take that box up to her apartment. I was remembering when I had my first apartment, and I said, boy, it'd be nice to have an apartment and have my clothes hanging up in the closet, and all these things that you take for granted when you have a space. You have a nice space, and you can turn on the heat whenever you want. All of these things that we all take for granted, right? And I said, I don't understand. I don't understand how everything got this way. And little did I know there was hundreds of people that were behind the scenes that were doing everything they can to kill me. you know. And here I was, this little, you know, unicorn spirit, little fairy girl. But my two clients know that about me. They know that I belong with the heavens. They know that I belong with the Christ, highest Christ consciousness. They understand the miracles of healing that I've done. They understand the royal lineage that I've come from, and they've been in my classes before all of this even happened. So they've been with me for a very long time. They've had the experience of being with me through miracles. They've had the experience of being with me in private classes and live events, and these beings have been there for me. And so I hadn't eaten for about 5 days, and then I'd come back to my car and I saw that girl walk in, and I said, "Oh, okay." And then 2 seconds later, after just having that good cry, I had a little ding on my phone, and one of my clients had donated. And that was the first time that I had eaten, you know, in about 6 or 7 days, and I cried. And I said to her, I sent her a little email, and I said I had gone to do some foraging, you know, in a path, because Spirit had said there's some berries along the path. You can go do some foraging. And so I did some foraging, and I bought a bag, a little Ziploc of berries that I had found. And I had found some other things that I could eat, you know, just through foraging, because I remember what my grandmother had taught me. And so I remembered that, and then I thought, okay, well, God will provide. You know, I had to have trust in God, and I had to have trust in those that really did love me, even though my family and so-called friends, you know, were making up plots and plans and schemes to make it look like I was crazy, and to, you know, bear false witness and stance, and anybody that had asked, anybody coming forward to ask investigators, documents going missing and things that just so happened to happen with all of these people's hands involved. You know, medical files and personal files about me going into the wrong hands of people. There's so many plots and plans and schemes of how to own me, how to own those pieces of me that nobody has rights to. Nobody ever had rights to. Right from the very beginning, I want to make this very clear. From the moment that I was born, from the moment that I came out of somebody's womb, whoever that was, because I don't have my clear birth documents yet. You know, the government has still refused to be a part of giving me peace in any way. But God will bring it forward no matter what, because God will bring me peace, because it's not their right to hang on to aspects of me, because they want ownership of me, and they don't want to own what they've done and what's gone wrong. They don't want to own the part that they have to be accountable for, because there are going to absolutely be legal. They're trying to push it as far ahead as possible. So these people that were doing this way back then, some of them are even dead, because it was so long ago. And their life path has been accelerated because of their karma having to be accelerated, because they got away with things they shouldn't have got away with. You know, human testing and anything that's done with human testing and human cloning. I go back to you, if you take those 2 books that were written and they were channeled material, a very great channel, I think her name is Cian Rowan. I've talked about it many times on my Crystalline Children's blog spot. If you go there, I've talked about her books often. I've given you copies of it. She's written 2 small channeled books, and these were times a long, long time ago, which we're kind of rotating in now, where some of the energies in our previous dimensional experiences in the galaxy, there was many different types of beings and species that were you know, brought together and kind of mixed together. And some of them were very detrimental and very, you know, hideous, shouldn't have been done. But that's just when people, you know, start getting into these experiences. Well, you're different. Let's start mixing and matching our energies and our, you know, just as wrong as incest is. These are the things that moralistically are not okay. If you just understand, if you understand higher order, if you understand divine soul blueprint, if you understand what is truly your divine blueprint and who you are and what you actually have within you, which the information and education has never been there, because you've never been taught these things should be taught at the very earliest of ages. If we believe and we understand the grander scheme of who we are at the divine soul blueprint, you don't go about as adults and selfish, greedy, unhealed, wounded beings that have such arrogance about themselves to think that they're going to go in and build an ultra human that's going to do everything that they want to do. It's your programming and you're dominating a species for them to do what you want them to do, and that's not okay. It's just not okay. It goes against all morals, and then they come up with these hiding things. Well, we're church people, and we're this and we're that, and yet they've got the church witches, they're called. So whereabouts does it say that God says you can go and kill somebody because you feel threatened by them, or because they seem to get more looks from the men than you do, because they're a natural divine goddess and you're just faking it and you're trying to force it because you're doing magic on them to come and be with you? There's a lot of wounding, so much wounding, so much wounding. So we're taking big collective energies and I'm breaking them down for you. There's been a lot of human programming and human agendas. The Epstein agenda, which is similar to this, we have to do research and break it down. Which and who and how and why are these certain cults and covens being directed to be the directors of very horrible things in the community, as I was targeted? I'm not the only starseed that's been targeted. There's been many other starseeds that have been targeted. I am the most because they all knew who I was. There is nobody like me. There will never, ever be anybody like me. They knew who I was at birth. I was moved at birth. I was moved at birth to an isolated island where they could keep track of me. They could do their updates on me, and they could send me every now and then the Masons and the Illuminati that wanted me to stay as far away as possible from the money that was behind me. Because the Illuminati wanted to remain Illuminati. They didn't want to change. They weren't going to advance their DNA. This is why it's all so primordial. That's why they did those rituals way back when of watching people torture. And the more fear that somebody could get in, that is when they would suck the soul out, because they wanted the soul to be in the most fear so that they could gain that power. They weren't working from the light aspect. They don't work from the light aspect because they're de-evolved. De-evolved. Epstein, there's going to be no light in them. They won't come back into a body. But they didn't know these things because nobody's teaching them higher understanding, higher ethics. No, they just keep doing the same thing they're doing. Well, we're Illuminati. Well, we're Masons. Well, we're 33rd degree this and this. We're 30. Why do you think God is bringing in so many starseeds? Because you're absolutely de-evolving your species. You're not going to come back in a body. We keep telling you guys these things. So anyways, these are the big collective issues that are going on right now. And the collective needs education. The collective needs to absolutely understand, barring church and state, put everything aside. You need to start off from scratch. These are the truths. If you behave in these dark occult ways, you're absolutely affecting your species to ever come back into a body. If you don't practice light, you're not going to understand your field. You're not going to understand what's going on. And you're not going to know how to heal. You're not going to know how to do your healing of your soul fragments. Bottom line. But then when you know all of these things and you still do the right thing, and then you're impaled and you're treated the way I was, there's still no resolve on anything that's happened to me. I've been here 54 years. I've had 3 years where nobody's touched my body. 3 years out of 54. I haven't had one apology. I don't want them anyways, by the way. The only apologies I want are from YouTube, and I want them from the governments. And from the person that is supposed to be my soul partner. They need to come forward and they need to say, this is what I did. This is where I took responsibility. This is my accountability. And this is my promise to you now. Because that needs to be done before there's any allowance coming through my door. Anybody from the past, anybody from Calgary, my ex, don't ever think about coming back. You're on spiritual lockdown. Those will be charges. Charges will be laid. Suing will be done. I'm going to be suing YouTube. I'm going to be suing everybody involved. Everybody's going to be sued. Everybody. I don't want your apologies. I want the apologies from the government with my passports and my ID, my proper birth documents. I want apologies from YouTube. And I want apologies from whoever my future mate is. Because you were all involved somehow, some way. And you're going to come to me and you're going to say, this is where I was. This is what I take accountability for. This is what I did. And this is how I'm going to make it right. That's what I want. I've been telling everybody what I want. That's what I want. How are you going to make it right? How are you going to make it right? There needs to be action. There needs to be action now for everybody's fields to be cleared of your karma. You're not going to be released from spiritual jail. You're not going to be released and you're not going to be moving in your unique light. You're going to be free in your light, and Spirit's going to help you in your light, and you're going to be uplifted in your light until you make it right. You have to act on how you're going to make it right. Trying to get around me and doing these covert things to try and get around me and try and talk to my sisters to see where I am, none of this will work. My ancestors will rip out your carpets. My ancestors will rip out your machines and your cars. My ancestors are so ready to go. My ancestors have so many things up their sleeve. My ancestors can't wait. As my muscle, my guide that is the muscle. My guide that is the muscle. He just points, he says, just let him come near me. So just watch it. That's why there's people dropping all over the place. God has had enough. Any magic done on me, anybody's lifting a wand to me, anybody that puts my name in their mouth that says this about me, anybody that chants, you're all going to be sat down and you're going to keep getting sick and sick and sick until you face what you've done, until you say to yourself, maybe this magic isn't such a good thing. Because it's all well and good when your stories are forced your way and you get the money and you get your stories and everybody's believing your manipulations, everybody believing your lies, while one divine feminine sits homeless in a parking lot, waiting for things to turn around as she's doing her alchemy and she's doing her work and she's doing her healing and she's doing her prayers and she's picking up little wormies and she's doing her thing and she's healing people, taking the odd client appointments here and there that don't get hacked over by the email, because God's going to make sure a couple appointments get through. What's been done has been diabolical. It's been diabolical. It has to be, everything has to be researched. We have to research why and how the human testing was even done and conceived. Why? What in any person's mind, I need to speak to the ones at the very top. What in any person's mind would ever think that doing this type of an agenda would be a positive thing to do, and where are you sitting on your karma with it? Is it aligned with universal law? The right use of free will and non-interference is the highest law. The galactic federations won't even cross it unless the Father says, get the fuck in there. And pull that out. This is not going to happen. This has gone too far. Too much arrogance, too much damage, too much black magic, too much this, too much that. Let's go. Pull her out. They've had to bring me back to life at least 5 times. Because of the groups and the constant industry is horrible. It's horrible, and they don't care about the damage they've done to my systems, my body, my children, my family, my finances. I have a lot of fixing of my finances to do. 2 years of things that I've got to get cleaned up. The last 2 years have been really bad, but thank God to my 2 clients. And when I heard that little ding, I immediately emailed my client back and I just cried. I just said, thank you so much for believing in me, and thank you so much. And she just said, I've loved you. She says, I'll always be with you. And I said, I'll always be with you too. I said, anytime you need a free healing, anytime you need anything from me. So she can't believe she goes, I can't believe what's going on. She goes, I have a hard time believing the collective, what's going on in the collective. These things have been going on in the collective. I said, wait till the information comes out about who's been involved. The names and the people that have been involved in ripping people's lives apart. And they think they're going to keep getting away with it by just doing more magic. No, the ancestors and Mother, Father, and the angels and everybody's got, no. This is a very critical point. I'm a new Earth Star leader, and I'm going to be one of the ones that has been the momentum, because I'm the one that's done the alchemy. And God will always place those that have done the work in their deserving. I deserve it. I've done the work. I've carried the entire collective out of certain energies. Me. Because I'm so good at alchemy. I see where things are wrong. I pierce it with light. I bring up this, and this. Now what do we do? Now we need teams put together of morals and ethics, and these people that truly want a better earth and want better times and better teachers and better healers and better systems. I want the best of these people. I want the people that are going to stand and have each other's back. Because there's going to be people in the old systems, there's going to be people kicking and screaming that don't want things to change because they're the ones that have been benefiting while everybody else suffers. No, I want the people that have been suffering. I want the people that have been I want to be the people that are going without. And I'm going to say, do you have everything in your power? Do you have everything in your gut to say, we're going to walk forward no matter what, and I'm with you? Those are the ones I want. Those are the ones I want on my team. Are you going to walk through me? Are you going to walk with me through anything? Because we got this. God's got us, and that's the highest oath, and I'm here to prove it. Those are the people I want. I don't care about people that have been in the role. I don't care about people in their certificates. I don't give a crap. I want the people that say, I'm going to walk through web and steel. What do you want? Where do you want me? Put me in, coach. I want those ones. I want the ones that get their shoes off, throw down the gloves. That's the one I want. I want the ones that say, no matter what, thick and thin. I want the 2 clients, then 20 that are going to say wishy-washy, I'm kind of here, I'm kind of not there. No, I'll take the 2. I'm a leader. I say to God all the time, you're so glad to have somebody like me on your highest warrior team, Spirit. I'm the only one that'll come forward and say, put me in, coach. And everybody else is sitting back in their lazy boy chairs, doing oracle cards. And I'm saying, put me in, coach. As a teenager, I was out throwing 150, 300 pitches a day in the backyard because I wanted to be a pitcher. I wanted to be the best. I'm the one sitting in parking lots watching people have their life while I'm crying about mine. There's been 300 people against me on all levels, the highest level, and they're saying she's bad for business. Let's take her out of there because I talk about trafficking. It's not going to be okay. We're not doing this. You're not taking another child. Not on my watch. I'll throw down. I'll throw down and I'll show the world how cruel and misogynistic men are to come and attack one divine feminine that's homeless, that doesn't have anybody supporting her and no money. How does that say for the divine masculines? And there's groups and covens of masculine that think they're all that. I want these masculines to face me in a courtroom. I want all of these masculines to face me in a courtroom. And you damn well bet mother and father are going to be standing by your side. And your soul will weep your wounding as you sit there and you are read exactly what you've done to me. These are men. These are groups and cults of men that think there's so much this and there's so much that, and they impale me. And they have people in cults and covens and cities everywhere. Where am I going to go and how am I going to get impaled? Is there an Uber person we can poison her food? I mean, they've done everything. They've done everything. They knew when I was coming into town. The night I came into town, visiting my kids, I come into town and I get picked up by the hotel that I was staying at, and a car comes I was the only one in this van where they pick up the motel staff and the hotel staff, and they come a couple of times a night. So you have to be there when the time is for your shuttle to go back to the hotel. So I got to the shuttle. I was the only one in. The driver was talking to some guy out there. I get in and I'm sitting right next to there's cars going like this, right, to pick up people. And they come in, they stop, and they pick up people because you get in here. And I'm sitting there and right, coming like this, young guy, I saw him, he was like a teenager in another shuttle car. And he had gone in and he sideswiped the van that I was in. And of course I was like this, right? Because I was the only one in there. I just got in my seat and hadn't even put the seatbelt on. And so everybody was like watching, like, what the hell? And he ended up stopping and parking, and the guy went over there and said, what are you doing? He was yelling at the guy through the thing. And he ended up coming out and he didn't even have a license. He didn't have any of the documents. So, I mean, it was a setup, obviously. He wasn't even employed. It wasn't even employed to do the shuttle. It was a setup. And so the guy come and asked me, I said, are you okay and everything? I said, yeah, I'm just like so shocked. My neck, kind of felt the thing. So they gave me a free night at the hotel and stuff. But these things happen, and you think they're random, but they're happening all the time. It's not fucking random. You've got cults and covens that are there to throw, and they're doing magic on you 24/7. Whatever they can do to throw off your energy, to throw off other people's energy. So now they've got angels, I've got ancestors, I've got energies from the lower realms, I've got everybody. I've got a circle of iron around me. There's a circle of iron around me. My time right now is being healed. So right now, the celestial galactic energies, there is everything that's coming in from the fathers. It is my time now to come in, and all good energy is coming to me. I'm getting healed by the best beings in the multiverse. I'm getting healed and I'm getting surrounded. I'm getting protected. I'm getting given to, and I'm being opened up like the new lotus flower that I am. And I'm being given all 100%. It's my time to heal. It's my time to receive. So it doesn't matter what anybody around this planet thinks they're doing. They are never going to touch me. It's my time to receive. It's my time to come out of this 50 years of hail and impalement of curses and hexes and voodoos and human testing bullshit. Human testing bullshit, poisoning, anything that you can imagine has happened. And one divine feminine. So I want all the men on this planet to really think about how much you think How much you think this is okay for you? I like it when little hairs like this come stray. It's like, I know, you're here. She goes, but I didn't get curled like the rest of them. That's okay. I could have videos and stories about anything. It's my fairy side. That's why I'm an entertainer. I'm a fairy, fairy, fairy. So I just thank you to my clients. I love you. I love you so much. I love you so much. You're everything. And you helped me get by some of the darkest days, my 2 clients. And the ones that truly stuck by me. Nobody else stuck by me. No family, nobody from my family, nobody from my family. They're not my family. My ex, don't even think about me ever. You're all forgiven. Your cult and your whatever you call it, whatever that's going on over there. Don't come and look for me. Don't come and find me. Don't think you're gonna pop up. Don't think you're gonna pop up. You got Commander Ashtar and the highest legions that are just gonna say, yeah, let's throw down. God knows what I can alchemize. God knows I can go to the darkest places and I'm gonna make it better. God knows that. I'm the apple of God's eye. Watch out. That's why this has been so unfair. Because I could have saved so many children. That's what really gets me. That's what I think about at the end of the day. Those are the conversations I have with God. I said, how is it okay that I'm sitting in a parking lot and I freeze my ass off every night and all I think about is I could have saved 50 kids today. I could have done this today. I haven't made peace with it. I haven't made peace with how cruel people are. And it's the belief systems that you've grown up with. All of it's healable. It's all healable. You have to do the daily path work. Do the daily path work to get yourself out of whatever, thank you, Holy Spirit, to get yourself out of whatever you think hurting somebody and doing dark occult magic is. If your dark occult magic is not aligning with universal laws, if your practices, if your church is not aligning with universal laws, if whatever you do in your daily life is not aligning with universal laws, you're going to be sat down by your teams. It doesn't matter if you're a world person or a world leader, it doesn't matter. Everybody, the world leaders watch me, and the world leaders have all been given notice. The world leaders have been told, these are the new laws. If you're not going to align, and if you do not take the greater good into your decision making, when you're in your galactic world meetings on the other side, as well as this side, because you're playing out your roles here, if you're not taking into account the highest and the best and the greater good for the Divine Father's plan of universal laws, if you're not doing these things, you will be sat down and you're going to be on spiritual suspension. Which means that in evidence and in any moment, you can be charged in the physical and go to jail for your crimes in the physical. But you've been getting away from it for so long, and everybody's been getting away with the crimes in the so-called masonry because they think it's all the special on this and secret society this and secret society that, and I'm the gatekeeper and I'm this and I'm that and I'm so special while I kill people. Oh boy, people come to me to kill people. That's your compass. Yeah, you're going to be sat down. Diabolical. This is where people have totally lost themselves. Like, have you done any path work at all? Like, that's your thing. And then you're messing with people's lives and cloning people's DNA. You think you're going to make a better DNA than God? Seriously? Seriously? So let's talk galactic and cosmic. That's where I want to go, because that makes me super excited. So the other day, we were talking about Divine Soul's blueprints are so amazing because I love talking about this all the time. On your soul's blueprint, right? Your soul's blueprint, these are the fragments that you've got going on any moment, in any now moment. This is your soul's now moment. This is your soul's now moment. This is the soul's Jacob's ladder, Jacob's ladder, Jacob's ladder. You're sitting in this now moment of your experience of who you are as a soul. All of this is you. This is, we're just going to go this universe. We're going to not go talk about the multiverse in another episode. We're just going to talk about, what did you say? They want those, so they said I can talk about the multiverse. There are some advanced species that will be coming into the forefront that I will be channeling, and others of higher capacity that are ready to take on the energy imprints, signatures that will be coming in toning, that you'll be learning about your planet. So how it operates within a multiverse experience and expression. There's faster and wider knowledge about what's coming in through the emergence of you becoming fully soul, fully aware of who you are, what you exist within. And those again are the soul imprints, and those again are the activations. So this is new. So I'm channeling now with my eyes open. So I'm just taking the download from Spirit right now, as I said. Quantum theories are going to be changing because, again, our consciousness has been changing. I know we're shifting from universe to universe. I know I'm shifting, not everybody else is. Some of the energies they're pulling in are from other universes. That's why, because God weaves. God is the ultimate alchemist. This is what God does. This is what I do. God shows me how to weave. God shows me how to weave. God shows me how to weave. This is why I go back and forth with you in my classes. In my classes, we talk about now, I go back. We talk about classes, then we go back. Talk about now, then we go back. Then we go future, then we go. This is how you weave. This is what God does with energy. We're taking the energy now, That's a soul fragment from then. Bring it now. Then you heal those skips on the record. This is the record, the 30, I think they're called 33 vinyls back in the day. This is what my parents used to have, right? They used to use a huge 33 record player. So I used to put the record player on like this, right? And if they had a really good party that night, there'd be skips on the record, and then we'll go skip. So this is what happens on a soul fragment. If you're not healing this soul fragment, you're going to keep in this attitude and behavior. So you have to pull this up, and this is when we do this, right? So you pull that soul fragment and you look at it. What was this showing me? What is that energy? Well, the energy is jealousy. So let's look at jealousy. You then put jealousy on the negative side, and you center in the middle, and then you create your affirmations and your higher vibrational entrainment. That's how you heal, so that this is no longer there anymore. You're recoding it. You're recoding it. You have to recode that. So in this now experience of who you are, you're becoming soul infused. And so somebody says, well, how do I know that I'm living my everyday life? I mean, I wake up in my bedroom and it seems all the same, but no, you can actually start feeling the quantum malleability of source, because we're talking about these substrates of source, which means breath, everything around you is source omnipresence. It's changing, it's more rarefied light. So the more that you start working with this rarefied light, bringing light into you, working with this light, this omnipresent substrates, everything around you in your field, you're rarefying your field because you're working with light, you're breathing with light, you're calling light in, you're building the relationship with light, your alignment with light, your connection with light. You're building, this is your responsibility. As you do, you're calling back that higher magnetic to you, whatever is in front of you. This is a magnetic pulsing field. This is why they said quantum theory is going to change, because this is all quantum energy. The more you work with source, it's changing your quantumness, because source is everything quantum, right? You're going to magnetize that which is on the other side of the multiverse they're showing me, right? This is a better picture, right? I can call something from another universe because I want it here in this universe. Okay, so thank you, Spirit. So just in that one example that we said, if I'm sitting on this planet, this is why God has me here. This is why I said, no, you're not going anywhere. You're going to stay here. Because when I stay here, I'm sending out this energy and information that I need to have brought here to this planet, right? My energies are sending out quantum electromagnetic pulsations. The other universe comes in and answers it, because that's the light I need. That's the energy. That's the code I need. That's why they're saying that when I do have these energies and I'm activating souls, I'm activating the soul's code. So any of these little codes, I can see it, any of those soul's codes can be heard and seen and found and placed into the spiritual grids. And they're also activating anyone now and future now moments. So if a child is going for a walk 10 years down the road, they're going to get that code because I placed it there and it's from another universe. So this, again, Nobody on planet Earth in a 3D perspective can ever make DNA like God does. God, nobody on Earth. I mean, I'm giving you just one example because this is new. Nobody channels this but me. This is new, brand new information. It's channeled through me. It's my material. It's my downloads. Nobody can take this and call it their own. I'm giving you straight from God. So God knows, because God's God, God knows that of all the timelines, right? God knows that all the timelines up to 13th dimension, just in this one universe, all the way to 13 dimensions, and there's this universe and this universe. God knows that, okay, I'm going to need this sound over here. I'm going to need this harmonic brought here because this is where this planet's going in the next year or two, because there's going to be so many people awakening. There's going to be hybrids here. There's going to be celestials here. There's going to be aliens here. This is going to be a planet of great, dynamic, diverse makeup. So God says, okay, I'm going to need this code from this universe over here. That's why God has me probably here, because I'm a multiverse conduit. So the codes that I'm depositing here, the codes that I'm awakening to your soul's blueprint, is a multiverse experience, because you're going to need that code. You're only going to get activated by that code. That's what your field needs, right? You're going to be responding to that code. You're going to respond to only that code because you need it. So this is where God says, this is where God is God. And nobody would know that. Like, what 3D person in a physics lab is going to know that? You're not going to know it. You just think you know. You just have all these grandiose plans to have this ultra human, do your weaponizing and to go into, Russia espionage, whatever it is these agendas are for and why. They're never going to know anything like this. It's just arrogance, right? It's arrogance and power over others. It's arrogance and ego. It's arrogance and low vibrational consciousness. No, this is for the benevolency of the actual multiverse, because God knows what's going on. Because we're going to have multiverse energies that are going to have to be deposited in this earth, because we want the earth to expand and evolve beyond where it's been. Because earth's going to go somewhere new in the galaxy bedding. And that bedding is going to be multiversal. Why? Because the triad of the universes is harmonizing together. We don't just stay one universe with only one energy, right? This universe up here that's higher vibrational, it's coming and it's always weaving the infinity. It's always weaving the infinity. That's God. God is the ultimate alchemist. So God is infinity, all of these experiences. The lowest of every universe gets pulled out. That way it raises up, right? It's a toroidal. So the lowest gets pulled out. It goes to the lower universe, the darker universe. And in that darker universe will eventually, however long that will be, it will eventually entropy, and it will collapse into itself, because it cannot sustain itself if there's no light. That's the way it is in all mechanics here, people. It's all about energy. So you cannot evolve if you don't have light. If you're not evolving and supporting your field with light, if you're not supporting anything that you are with light, if you're not harmonizing yourself with balance and honoring yourself with balance and honoring yourself with the higher and the above, as above, so below, as within, so without, that pulsation is going to be dark and negative, and of course, that's what you're going to attract. It's like a hole. It's like a black hole of entropy. So we're just giving it to you in maximum experience. This is what happens in the multiverse. So anyway, so God says that this is why that I'm here, because I do have that multiversality. I have that ability to call in, and why my sounds lately, I've been practicing my light language and my toning. And this is why Source wants me to start doing more music and stuff, because my toning does have that ability to anchor energies that are not only ancient, but they have a multiversality effect to it. And those are the codes that will be needed for the Divine Father's plan for, we talk about future, but it's all now, right? Because future, I need better pictures. See, once I get my tools and things like that, and once I stop having people suppress me, maybe I'll get these things done. So in the future, if you will, so this is where we are now, right now, just coming up to 5D. We're here. We're still really, really low, but we're coming up here. So if we say on a higher thread of 5D, which might be 30 years, 40 years down the road, right? Because we're learning so much about 5D and who we are as consciousness. It's going to be so much fun. We're not going to gauge it in years, because consciousness will now be the now. But say we're going to need that code that's going to deposit in and activate the DNA, or activate multiversality. This is why they have people that come now, if we call it now. I'm here now. I'm an ancient, I'm a celestial, I'm an alien, I'm a superhuman, if you will, ultra human. This code now that I'm offering, and we'll do some light language, we'll do a guided meditation right now, because I want to save time for questions. I want to get your codes in today. So we do an activation now. It activates whatever needs to be activated as a soul code activation, your soul's blueprint, where our intention is to activate your soul's blueprint so that you don't go wandering outside of you for anybody else's, whatever they're doing. No, it's my soul's code. It's my soul's blueprint. I'm here for a reason. I'm going to get my stuff activated. I'm going to do my healing because God's going to make sure that I'm going to be in my best place, whatever that is. Whether you make the best muffins on the planet, whether you have the best herbal medicines on the planet, whether you just have the best, dancing in nature, whatever it is that you do, it's only you, it's authentic, it's genuine. You don't have to worry about being like anybody else because you're here to be you. That's your divine soul's blueprint. And if we're calling it in from another universe, there's nobody that can ever predict that. There's nobody that can ever put a splicing in a DNA because some egotistical person wants to have the highest human intelligence, and no, you don't know. You don't have any clue. Because I'm advanced and I'm just bringing this information today, right now. Nobody's ever heard of. So how is anybody in a lab going to know? And they're lower vibrational than I am. So again, be discerning, people. Be discerning about people that say they run in and out of the Akash, that they pull information from here and there, and they're working on this and this and this. The highest form for humanity right now, the highest form that you can be safe in, is aligning with universal laws, right use of free will and non-interference, the law of balance. Your guides and your higher self will always align you with the highest and the best. They will never, ever guide you into dark, negative karma. You are only going to be working off the karma that you have earned between 3 and 5D at 51% if you do this from here on out. If, however, you're doing not that, and you're doing magic and spell work, and you're lying and deceiving, and you're not bringing right, and you're not making right undue unto others, and you're still working and living in wounding and egotistical arrogance, if that's how you choose, then you will continue to get negative karma, and you'll continue to go into darkness. Because you're not bringing any light into you, which is truth and clarity. Truth is clearing all your systems. Truth clears your karma. Truth clears your chakras. Truth clears your fields. Truth is truth is truth is truth. Truth is the light. Because you care about your body. You care about your spirit. You care about others. Truth is equal to caring. And if you don't bring truth, that means you don't care. Because you're wanting to live in a mass. You're wanting to live in however it's going to look. Because you don't want to look like this and like this and like this because of other people. Who gives a fuck what other people say? No, this is who I am. Deal with it. Let them work it out because they're not fully awake. Why would you want to level yourself and balance yourself and measure yourself to people that aren't awake? Why would you care? Why would you care to people that are not awake and they're living from cult and coven and church and state mess? Why would you do that? Why would you place yourself, I want to be looked at by these people as really great? Why? They're asleep. So I come in, gloves off, put me in, coach. Put me in, coach. Put me in. Did I talk about my friend Mel? Oh, yeah, I was talking about my friend Mel this morning. I bumped into my friend Mel the other day. He was driving across the street. He saw me, so he ripped his truck around to come in and buy me lunch. He was wearing this really cool vintage motorcycle jacket. Super cool. Some of the zippers were broken and missing and stuff because he was telling me about these wipeouts he had. I said, I gotta have that jacket. I said, no, I'll sell it to you. I said, how much would you sell me this jacket? Because I'm a stylist, right? I said, oh, I love that jacket. I could see that jacket with this and this. And I started styling with it already. And he's like, no. He says, well, what about if I just give it to you? And I said, I could never take that jacket from you. It was a really nice jacket. Vintage motorcycle jacket. And I liked it because some of the zippers were missing and broken and stuff. And he started to take it off. I said, no, you're not going to give me your motorcycle jacket. But these are little angels that God places in front of me, right? So if I'm having a really crappy day, there'll be a little angel plopped in front of me and he'll whip around in his truck and come and buy me lunch and take off his jacket for me. So little things like that make my day better. So he's a friend of mine. His name is Mel. And so they're going to have people like me come in from the multiverse and say, okay, let's put out some codes because there's energies that are going to be like here and we're going to be working with New Earth and they're going to be coming and going. So what they're showing me is that in our advancement of preparing for first contact, what's going to happen is that some of us are. This is really trippy. Some of you may already know this, and you're going to know it. You're going to know this intrinsically. You're going to know it intuitively, because we've talked about this in some of my classes a long time ago, and I know that Daniel's talked about this too. Same with Bashar. There's going to be people placed in front of you that kind of look human, but you know that they're just cloaking themselves as human, but they're celestials. So you're going to have these experiences where that's where the multiverse energy comes into it, because you make it more comfortable for these beings to do this, to come back and forth in different forms. And they take place like that in the big motherships where they have all of these different species, the species of light. I call them systems of light now. I used to call them Galactic Federation. Now I call them systems of light. Thank you, Holy Systems of Light. Thank you, Holy Systems of Light. Thank you, thank you. I love you so much. Thank you, Commander Ashtar. So I always get so excited. My body just goes instant goosebumpily. And so this is how you know their energies are with you, and they're just so loving, and they're so, that's family. To me, that's family. And so even though I'm kicked aside and I'm kicked out and I'm ostracized and I'm killed here, my celestial families will always hug me and make me feel infinite and eternal. And so that's what I like to offer those that are also eternal here on the planet, because the codes and the light and the harmony is all that matters. So we're going to be making new systems, healing, that matters. We're going to have to do investigations and research to know that where did we ever think that this was okay, and how do we heal what's been done? We have to heal. We have to align back to our soul's blueprint. We have to align back to whatever activation you're going to be next to, whether it's a multiversal energy, which is, they're saying, between now and a few years off. Many of you in the collective that have not been on the path for a while, it's not going to be for a couple of years till you get that multiversal activation. Those of you that have been on the path for a while, you do have the potential to have those multiversal activations. And that's where I say that I've explained to you that I've gone into other universes. Spirit has shown me there's a slipstream. They show me like this. I go into my consciousness and I manifest a body just like mine. And it seems like the exact same experience. You can be like just a mirror experience, but what you're kind of slipstreaming consciousness, you go in to create an energy now, because your energy, your consciousness now is the most powerful. That's how you change timelines. That's really how you change timelines, is the energy now, the consciousness now. You have to understand energy. You have to understand you and your body. I change that timeline there, or I pick up an energy, or I drop an energy. That's what I do. So Spirit shows me. And when I did that, the only thing that I can say and give an explanation of, because it looks exactly the same, because you're creating it. You're creating the exact same experience. There might be, you can try this tonight when you go to bed. Give me an example, and give me a knowing. Give me a pure knowing that I can see something tangible where I've actually changed realities. I'm actually in a new reality. Give me that example. And you'll see, you'll drive down your street, in your car, and you go there, you drive in your car every day down the street, but the tree is just a little bit off. The tree is up farther on the fence. And you're like, I always remember it over by there because it matched up with the red mark over there. This is how I know. Because I'm high functioning. I pay attention to everything. I pay attention. People like me pay attention. And so, where were we going with that, Spirit? The multiverse energy? Because there's going to be activations with those of you that have been on the path for a while. Codes and harmonics that are moving back and forth. When you have the balancing of your systems, you're going to be knowing that you can travel much easier in and out of dimensions without any light ships, of course. But you have to be balanced in your multidimensional systems, again, is what we teach. Your body, heart, mind, and soul with your fields and your Merkaba. You have to be balanced in your divine feminine masculine energies, which is why you have to heal your soul fragments. You cannot do any of this in your imbalance. You just can't, because you can't even hold who you are in this planet on a low vibration. How are you going to be slipstreaming anywhere? So this is what they were showing. The magnetics will be different, obviously, because your consciousness, again, is shifting itself from one quantum experience and what you exist within your field. The quantum physics that exists here is not the same to the multiverse that you're going to, where it's just different. I explain it as, it looks just the same, it feels just the same, but your inner core, something's different. Just like I said, it's just, I don't want to be in this closet. That's how I explained it to Source. I said, where did you take me? And they said, we've just brought you somewhere different. And I said, I don't like this closet. I'm not going to try any of these clothes on. I'm telling you right now. That's what I do as a stylist. I go into people's closet. Okay, what do I want to try on? What can I match? And if I don't want to be in that closet, okay, we got to start from scratch. Let's go. We're going to overhaul this whole thing. Where's the bag? Where's the garbage bag? We're throwing all this out. We're taking it to the thrift store. Okay, so let's do open up. We're going to open up and we're going to pull in some energy. We're going to do a clearing and a cleansing. We're going to anchor to the universal spiritual grids. Those of you who would like to donate, I would very much appreciate it. I do need new tools, and I need to get a new laptop. I need to get a new phone and a new iPad because they were all hacked into and broken. So anybody that would like to donate, please, that's what I'm saving for, and of course, food and things daily. So I appreciate my clients that do donate. Sessions and healing sessions, activations, healing sessions at nighttime where we go over your light codes for healing through light. Reducing age as far as, youthing and things like that. That's what we do in our nighttime sessions. If you want a nighttime healing session, connecting with your teams, healing sessions and activations is where you're going, what you're doing. 5D vocational alignment sessions. I do all of those things as lectures and webinars and classes, which I'm hopefully going to start as soon as I get my tools. I'm going to be starting classes again and then live events. So that's where I'm going. That's what I'm doing. Hop aboard or get off. But that's me. And I'm going to be moving in my destiny as I always have, as I always will. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Thank you, Holy Mother, Father. And open up the pillar of light and call in crystalline white light, crystalline angelic codes, the Holy Mother and the Father through the systems of light. That's what we're attending. We're directing our focus. We're directing our intention to call in universal light codes. Holy Spirit, thank you, Holy Spirit. Lord Michael, please protect this space now and future now moments for those listening, so that they're receiving their highest light frequencies. And those that are ready for their Divine Soul's blueprint, releasing and blocking any others and sending them away, please. We're calling in the highest Divine Soul light, please, for our higher selves. Our higher selves are the gatekeeper. There is no other gatekeeper you need, is the higher self. That is the only gatekeeper that you will ever need, is the higher self. And then, of course, if you are meeting people like myself, then we act with Anubis as a gatekeeper to assist you in pivoting and altering course so that you look at who you are, what you exist, what's going on within you. And that's why we present ourselves before you. And that is God's job. And that is your ancestors' job to say, we need these people waking up. Please place Joanna, Celeste in front of these people, in front of this collective. We need to get going here. The ancestors are itching and aching. And this is what the job that Anubis and I play. We do play a bit of a gatekeeper, yes. We also help souls that are stuck in between realms. If the Father asks us and Lord Michael asks us, then we help move those souls back to light. That's our job. So to have an intention within yourself to open your pillars of light. And through your voice, please. It's always good that you work with your voice, so say it out loud. I'm opening my pillar of light, and I'm asking the Holy Spirit, crystalline energies that are for my highest and my best, universal energies and universal light, quantum rainbow code, please come into my system now through the direction of my higher self and my angels and my ancestors. Take a deep full body breath, and this is where you're anchoring to your 0 point, is through your full body breath. Slow exhale, slow exhale. Your earth star, open up at the bottom of your feet. Your earth star chakra, open at the bottom of your feet, further anchoring to the spiritual grids. And that's when your ancestors will usually check in when you go to your earth star chakra. Etike ina aya nanaka. Shitika nama idike naisya nanaka aya nanaka. Tushia nama a. La nama etike a. Te nanaka a. Etike e she nanaka. A. Siya matike shia nana. Full body breath. Up to the heavens, up to the heavens, up to the heavens, up to the heavens. See white crystalline cloud-like light, cloud-like light. Transparent crystalline light, bathing your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual fields, causal fields, intuitive fields. See the white crystalline energy with the violet flame, bathe your chakras, bathe your organs, bathe your cells, bathe your bones, bathe your skin, bathe everything that you are. Breathe in the violet flame. Breathe in the violet flame, crystalline light, to bathe and cleanse and clear, bathe and cleanse and clear, bathe and cleanse and clear. Have your higher self and your teams move around any energy that needs to be moved, releasing through your intention. I release what is no longer required. Back to the Holy Source Creator. I release what is no longer required, thought, word, and deed. Back to the Holy Source Creator. I release any densities. I release any worries. I release any projections or imprints that are not required, that are not mine. Return it back to Source. And you say this with commandment. Loving commandment, for it's your body, it's your fields. I am Source all. I am all that is. I love my fields. I have honor for my fields. I have respect for my fields. I'm going to talk to my fields with respect. And this is why we keep saying those that do conjuring and negative occult magic, you have no respect for your fields. Your fields are taking on your energy. Your fields are taking on everything that you say, whether you think you're projecting it or not. It's becoming you. Well, that's why all of you are sick. All of these things have to be studied and researched, and we have to have, we have to come out with the results of the studies and the healing that we're going to be doing, and why all healing and psychology has to be aligned with 5D. Soul healing, multidimensional healing. Everything has to be multidimensional because we are. We are multidimensional. So call in your multidimensional light that needs to be bathed in my heart, mind, body, and soul, and my fields. Whatever light I need, whatever activations I need, whatever codes I need, I'm asking my higher self and my light, and then just wait to see what your higher self gives you. Your higher self might give you an image of an orange. Your higher self might give you an image of, swimming in the ocean. Your higher self might give you, having an herbal tea. These are multidimensional approaches to heal your multidimensional fields and reset it. Reset the quantumness in your fields. Reset the quantumness of your cells. The biophysical aspects of you. It's all godly. So you want to become multidimensional in how you move about becoming, because you're becoming a multidimensional being. You want to become in your multidimensional attributes. I want to become aware of what it is I need. Thought, word, deed, smell, sense. How do I become higher aligned? And this is it. So open up your divine sacred pillar of light. And now we're going to call in, our higher self is already aligned. We're going to call in our teams, our celestial teams, through the systems of light. So say it out loud. I'm calling in my first contact teams to the systems of light. And ask your teams how you can move about from now till the rest of the weekend, that you can pay attention to your teams that are supporting you and gifting you, and start practicing your multidimensional communication. How is it that I can communicate with you? Should I communicate in a morning meditation? Can I ask you to show yourself to me in various ways, whether it's through goosebumps on my body? How can I start communicating with you? If I start to do glyphs, will you give me a glyph that I can just practice drawing? Because you have to start activating your multidimensional gifts. The only way you can activate it is by the doing, is by the action part. That's where you spark that God spark. This is where God is showing me it is very the same and similar to as what I said earlier, Celeste said earlier, about the multidimensional codes, the multiversal codes. Those codes are going to sit there until they're activated. Because because I've been activated multiversally, those codes can now be activated. It is the action part. I am, so God is showing me, I am the action. I am the God spark to that which gets activated. There's been lots of codes left here from many other timelines, many other ancient histories, many other celestial visits. But it's not until I'm activated in front of the people that those codes become activated for those of you that have the DNA, for those of you that it sits with. It might not sit with me. I'm just communicating it. It has to move through me, but it's not my activation. It might be your activation. I'm activating me with my gifts. You're being activated by the code itself. Does that make sense? Sometimes I'm just the translator, the transmitter. In most cases, Source says it always moves through me. So this is why my vessel has to be and my aura has to be quite big and cosmic, because I'm ultimately having it all move through me. Why I've been the alchemist that I have. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Thank you, Holy Spirit. So just sit in an open receiving state and say out loud, I am open and I am receiving. I am open and I am receiving a heightened, you want to be heightened, a heightened capacity of intelligence and understanding. You want something to be activated in the next couple of days till the end of the weekend of capacity and understanding right? How you're going to understand that you're a multiversal being. What is going to be your quantum activation? You're going to feel it quantumly because God is going to activate you. It's always activated quantumly because that's how you take the farthest pace, the farthest and the biggest thing to the smallest thing. It's all one. This is the unity consciousness. We want you to understand you are all unity consciousness. Therefore, then how can we treat ourselves or anybody in our family or anybody that's outside of us any different? We're all one people. This is the unity consciousness band, and it is banded together by quantum, the quantum reality, the quantum allness that is God. God is all things. Doesn't matter if it's another universe. Doesn't matter if it's right here or Pluto. It doesn't matter. It's all God. And when we talk about Pluto, Pluto is now activated. So Pluto is now coming into your registry of awareness. And you can talk about the farthest away aspects of this universe. And what does that mean? What does it mean to get in touch with the 13th dimensional creators? So call in. I want to talk to the highest vibrational being through my higher self. And what is it this weekend that I can see, know, and sense, or maybe have a dream of or be activated within that can allow me to be further connected and in alignment? Because what is everything? Everything is about building relationship through connection and alignment. I want to be connected with God. I want to be connected with God in all ways. I want to align with God. I want to align with my higher soul's blueprint. I want to know who I am multiversally, multigalactically. I want to know and I want to get used to these feelings and these codes of awkwardness and strangeness. I love feeling my celestial experiences. I love feeling my universal experiences. I love feeling how loved unconditionally I am. And how can my teams show me that I can prepare slowly and in alignment, because it's always divine timing, for first contact? What does that look like for me? I might have a dream of an on and off world experience. You might have an experience. They're showing me one of you might have an experience that you're going to be you're going to have this dream or an experience of a vision of you going for a walk. And there's going to be a little being that's off to your left that looks like a gnome, because some of these multiversal species, the systems of light, will come and pop in and out of your experience just like I do. I pop in and out of timelines and I show you this is who I am and I look just like you. And this being looks just like a human, but they're very small. They're green, kind of greeny gray, but they're just humanoid. They come and they go. They know how to interdimensionally move about and maneuver, just like Bigfoot and Sasquatch. They know how to maneuver in and out of timelines and slipstreaming between realms. They know how to do this. They're very efficient at it. But the only way that you can do this, we don't want you to think you're doing this. We just want you to think of how you can see and contact with those that do know how to do this. We don't want you to again get all egoically and say, I'm gonna timeline jump and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. You're not prepared for it, because if you were, your teams would have you focus on that. You're not focusing on that. It's not about doing all of it. You need to get healed first and balanced first. And this is why a couple of years ago, the big thing that was flying around the collective was timeline jumping. You can't timeline jump, and you shouldn't want to do it if you're not balanced in your divine feminine masculine energies. You're going to get stuck. You're going to get stuck out in nowhere's land. And then a channeler like me 2 or 3 years down the road is going to have to pull your energy systems back because you got lost out in nowhere land because you weren't balanced. Everything has to be in a system, and why we take you through step by step. There's reasons why you learn the basics first. The collective has never been taught things like this before. We do have to take our steps in it. You have to feel good about who you are. You have to feel very grounded in who you are. This is why you have to go through the dodecahedron and the sandwiches and the salads. I've been there a bajillion times. I've had 1,000 lifetimes, people. This has been my work for 1,000 lifetimes. God has trained me. So I'm asking all of you in your daily ascension pathwork, be masterful. Take it seriously with honor. Take it seriously with respect. Take it seriously with God. Say, God, this is what I want to be. I want to know multidimensional travel. I want to know, how do I understand quantum physics in this way within myself? If I want to visit my family in Sirius, how do I do this? How do I do this? I want to be this for myself. And then you're slowly, bit by bit, because it is a lot to understand. It's a lot to wrap your mind and brain around, because everything has been so low vibrational, 3D, linear. And it's absolutely not. Multidimensionality is multidimensional. The Christ consciousness is multidimensional. The Christ consciousness is here now, everywhere. It's right now. That's why we have to start getting used to thinking beyond where we have been. We want to be multidimensional. We want to be multifaceted. We want to be multiversal. And there's beings and there's codes and there's sounds that can allow you to get activated, to think higher, to think more malleably, because that's God. It's all God, it's all source. Source is all things. And so we're going to do some, we're going to open up for a few questions, but we're going to do some sounds. I'm going to do some sounds. So your intention is your intention with your higher self. So just feel wrapped with your higher self. Open up your palms to the facing up and do your own chanting and do your own light language so that you're clearing your fields, you're clearing your house, and call in the highest vibration of love and excitement. And this is our time to play and practice with our celestial multiversal beings, our multiversal codes, and of course, the beautiful grids of Gaia, the beautiful spiritual grids of Gaia, because our soul's blueprint is what? It's always in alignment of the Divine Father's plan and the light evolution and eternal life. It is always with our collective, and it is always with the spiritual grids of the highest timelines for Gaia. That is what we always do music for. That's what we always do chanting for. It's what we always do, everything that is an expression. We do it because of our soul's blueprint. And helps you out. This helps you out as to how and why and what you do, because I do it with intention of benevolence. Therefore, thus, then you'll always be in a benevolent timeline. Remember what we've always said. Actions will show and determine where you're going to sit, because my actions are with intention to always be in the highest vibrational timeline and alignment. I do this for the grids. I do this for Gaia. I do this for my collective. Therefore, thus, then, so too it is. It's very simple, dear light ones. You just have to follow the new equations. You have to follow the equations of love begets love in every way, because that's God. And be very discerning about anybody that tells you anything different, because you know that they want you on their roller coaster of story. So clear the energy. If you got burping coming up, that means you just got higher vibrational energy that's moving those energies out. So release any and all energies that are wanting to move. And our intention is to get in activation of higher capacity, activating this weekend over the next 4 days. Your teams are going to work with you. Your higher self is going to work with you. You are going to work with you on seeing, sensing, and knowing, and being prepared for higher vibrational first contact, co-creation, relationship, and alignment. How do you connect? How do you build that relationship? What is it that you're meant to do for your soul's blueprint? Because God is going to show you what's right for you, because all of you are on different timing, pacing, and temperament. You're all at different levels of your consciousness. You all have different levels of your DNA activated. You all have different levels of your consciousness of aptitude and capacity that you've activated. You've all had different levels of your interaction with your celestial teams that you've activated. So each and every one of you are at a different space and place. So it's up to you to say, where am I at? And as I always ask my teams, what is it that I need to see, hear, and know in this moment? What is it that I need to do in this moment? What's my action part? What's my sitting intuitive part? And what's my action part? Therefore, you know that your divine feminine is looked after, because she is the intuitive receiving, and then the divine masculine is the intuitive action. So this is what you should be behaving in every day. What's my intuitive sitting and receiving? What is my action? That is your harmonization of divine feminine masculine energies. So know this and work with this every day. Work with intention of balancing divine masculine every day. And so maybe this is what your activation will be right now. So open up and align with your higher self. Align with Mother, Father, God in the heavens. Align with the systems of light. And through your teams and through your higher self, you will be threaded what God is wanting to thread with you. So as you're chanting and as you're doing your light language, God and your higher self will thread to you what is needed for you. Through your higher self, through your healing teams, through Lord Michael, through all that is protective and loving and gooding for you and benevolent for you, this is only what you will receive, is only good and only higher vibrational intelligence. And so take another deep breath. Everything is aligned. You're activating your specific soul's blueprint. I see anama de Kesia, Namakata de Kela, and Namakata de Kesia, Namakata de Gate, Na Isian, Namakata de Kela, and Namakata de Gate, Na, see Namakata de Kela, Na Isian, Na Ea, Taisimakata de Gelana, see Namakata de Na, see Tike Matakesia, my Tikea, Daka, Na E Tike Shenanaka, Point Ana Tike A. Halam mai tike sianamaka de tike ma tike she nama tike she lai namaka tike she tike lana katike te ama tike lana maka hushama tike selai namaka tike lana nakataka tike she nanaka. I see these little beings. They're like little chicks. They're like eggs, but they have wings. It's like a chick and a bat. That's what they look like. So these are beings I've never seen before. And they're speaking with me right now. This is why the language was a bit different. That was what they were saying. They're not from here. They're contacting me from the higher universe. They're showing me. It's higher right, higher right. They say they're similar to what we know to be the elves. Tai te na e te ke se te ke ama te ke she anana. Se te ke e te ama di se te ke ama e te se na e ta na ma e te ke se na te na ka lai na ma ka she la na ma se te ke ama huia nada ke she lai na ma ka te ke lai na ma te ke she la na ma nai de ama te ke se na ka te ke Hishamaya. Take a deep breath. Lai te ke shala non makata de ke te nanaka de nanaka daisian namaka ila laine de ke. So they're saying, isn't it wonderful how diverse God is? That's what they're saying to me. So they're saying, isn't it wonderful that all of us can meet in the systems of light? You can't imagine how many beings and species are around me right now. They're around us in this co-creation, around Earth, wanting to seek out more of who we are. This is very profound to those of us that watch us. We've come from a very limited state of being, a state of perspective. And now we want to see how and when and why and where our imaginations can take us to the multiversal, multivibrational species that are in everything and everywhere, because it's quantum with God. And this is how God is. God is everything that is diverse. Of course, how it is. How could we create a multiverse of such diverse species and such diverse life if God wouldn't be diverse in all of itself, of the evolution of diversity? That's God. That's God in all its play. The evolution of diversity. That's God. Thank you, Holy Spirit. And that helps clear out a lot of limitations. We're not meant to be like anybody else. There's infinite species you can spend. There's no amount of time that you can spend how diverse all species are in all galaxies and all sectors of space. Because all sectors of space offer different levels of quantumness. They offer all different levels of magnetism, and they offer all different levels of gravity. They offer all different levels of quantum magnetics. Of course, there's going to be different life. Your planet happens to be a planet where there's lots of water. Therefore, your planet and the diversity that sits there is very, very unique to us, because many, many planets in our galaxy and in the universe don't have as much water as you. And yet we find it very strange how you've not taken care and taken ownership and honoring of it. And why the world leaders are going to be waking up very fast, and many of them are on their spiritual suspension because they haven't honored who they are as a multiverse species, that they've come here to be a part of creating new systems and honoring such, taking care of such, being altruistic in such. She amaya te ke shananaka te ke shanamakata te ke nanaka esian lainama atike nayanaka esha anu usia mo te ke e amaya. Take a deep breath and ground and ground and ground and ground, as you always do light language. And before you come out of doing your light language, make sure you ground. Otherwise, you're going to feel very lightheaded until you ground back into your body. Grounding is so important when you do your higher vibrational work with your teams. Write that down. You have to know this. You might have to call yourself back to your body if you always like being in your higher chakras. You're going to have to keep grounding, practice grounding, because otherwise you get into accidents and you're not in your body as much. And this is what we have to remind the starseed children, because they're not practicing how to be in their bodies, and it's safe to be in your bodies. They play a lot of time in their higher chakras, and sometimes they do get in a lot of accidents in the playgrounds and stuff because they're not quite in their bodies. It's too scary for them to be here because the energies are so harsh. So just remind your high vibrational kids. So we have a few minutes left. Remember the donation, paypal.me/Joanna L. Ross for donations and sessions. If you want to collaborate and meet with me for collaboration speaking engagements and to get together, you have to go through PayPal so that I can book a session with you and we can do a video conference with you. And that's $250 US for every 90 minutes, and you can record it from your end. I don't keep anything. I don't have recording on this end. And that's activating your light, activating your God conscious, activating your God spark. And any questions that we want to do for the last few minutes, you can just send me a telepathic question. What was that question about consciousness? I have to organize my papers. They're not organized. Okay, what's the question, please? One question telepathically. Higher selves, can you feed me one question? Somebody's asking about higher nodes of consciousness, higher nodes and nulls of consciousness. That all has to do with sounds and vibrations as the planet is activated through our various aspects of space. Remember, everything is integrative in the oneness unity factor, meaning that, again, the heavens and the Divine Father's plan and the celestials and all the galactics and everybody that works with the Divine Father's light wisdom plan, right? For ascension, for evolution. There's the heavens, the many heavens. Many heavens means everybody that is in the light systems program for evolutionary light. Then there is the planet, and then there's the collective. So all of these things work together. So as all of these things are coming into the minutia, and all of these things are awakening, and the higher omnipresent substrates, people like me working on the grids and doing light work and doing energy work on Middle East and doing all of these things that we're doing, bringing all of these dark aspects to the forefront and putting them on the table so we can work them out and alchemize them. All of these things are increasing light. All of these things are increasing consciousness. And this is what you've called a consciousness of node, which means that the vibrational hum, the vibrational harmonic has moved up a bit. So the vibrational pattern now is different because every day there's things happening. There's dark patterns coming up, facing at it, looking at it. Every day you're going through, you're looking at the minutia, you're realizing, you're becoming actualized with it. You're knowing that something's going on. You're thinking about it a little bit more. You're processing differently. You're harmonizing the wounds. It doesn't mean you got to be healed right now tomorrow. It's never the goal is to be healed and let that move on. No, every day you're thinking about wider and expansive reasons on how you believed what you believe. So let it go and move on with it. Open and allow, open and allow, open and allow. Allow God's minutia, allow God's light, allow the flow. Remember we're talking about flow? The more you allow the flow, the higher inharmonic, the higher node that you have. The higher nodes and nulls are all about harmonics. It's all about God's light. It's all about what are we learning now as a collective? Where's our consciousness now as a collective? Where are you as a collective? Where are you within yourself and your teams? Where is your collective consciousness? Where are you? Are you working with it? Relationship, connection, all these things that we talk about. So if you're doing this daily, your consciousness node is going to be higher. That means you're going to have a vibration that's going to be in a different node. That's why I can be connected with some, and they're not going to be able to reach me in some other nodes because the harmonics are just different. You can't get to me. You're going to be cut off. So that's what you meant. So the nodes and nulls are about your ability to have your capacity, but again, are you working with it, your teams daily, and are you practicing it? Are you being the practice so that you can have your activations? Remember, the divine masculine is what activates the God spark. But you have to sit and receive from divine feminine for you to get that God spark. That's why you have to be balanced. Everything we teach has to be. You can't go out into space and have an on and off world contact by being half balanced, by being, go get them hung, in divine masculine energy. No, you have to have that balance. Be centered in your balance. Right? Take hamper. One more question. Yes, the equinox is the next gate of energy that we have. That's on the 20th. And those are spring equinox energies. And we're always being bathed in every moment so that you can have any activation that you want by talking with your teams and connecting with your teams. And it is always about vibrational alignment. Again, if you're not in alignment of the highest and the best in benevolence, you will not be given what you're given. Period. Because everybody's been put on notice and the dark energies have been put on suspension. We're moving forward. You're not going to be allowing to have any more of these plots, plans, and schemes to keep bringing on darkness. The planet has had enough darkness. If you choose to do that, you are going to be bringing monumental arenas of disaster for yourself and your family. And if you choose not to care, and if you choose that's your decision, and the world leaders that choose to keep doing things that are not aligned with universal laws, that will be your experience. You will manifest disasters. And so Source is saying it right to you. Well, I will deliver. Source is saying, I will deliver a disaster to you if this is what you keep choosing to do. You will have your manifestation of disaster, and it will be your disaster. And everybody involved in whatever program you're in, everybody will see that that disaster is because you manifested it. That's straight from God. That's right from the mouth of God. So thank you, dear lighted ones. Thank you, dear lighted ones. So thank you for a wonderful class. Get the little angels. Everybody that is, a donation would be wonderful. PayPal.me/Joanna L. Ross. Until I get my birth records and my stuff back, I'll be making a website and everything in my name so I can change that. Sending everybody love and light. Lord Michael and my ancestors, you can close off the room. I will only take select. You can have a session with me if you want to ask me questions. If you want to ask me questions for collaborations or meetings, or if you want a healing session on your own, you can book a session. So thank you, Holy Spirit. Lord Michael, close off the energy cords. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Clear and cleanse my fields, Holy Spirit. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Sending everybody love and light. I love my clients. I'm sending you love and light. I love you. Okay, bye.